to the hail, all you sports fans out there in the Tuposphere, to you, the individuals, part of the collective. Welcome to Fast Track Sports Rock College here on Talk Radio, version of the OMSR. I am your brief but concise host, Will, the alternative ESPN Sports Thrill. Always do a little show like this, let you know the clip order coming up and the whys and wherefores. You get to significantly longer highlights reel that way. Plus the Quickie Sport Rant of the segment. But as the upcoming Gen 5.0, the Quickie Sport Rant is going to come after the highlights with the disclaimers, legalese, a little bit of analysis beforehand, some improved graphics I'm working on, and so forth. Alright, so we're talking briefly and concisely, take it from the herd, about how Northwestern, or whatever entity on behalf of Northwestern, got this thing approved, or passed. You can look at them among many other entities and or their logo or face, actually better to say their logo and or face in the page of the dictionary where it says the poster boy or gal or entity for letting the genie out of the bottle, for being allowed to unionize. Holy cow. So I'll just give you a little tidbit on the Quickie Sport Rant of the segment, and then we're going to roll clips about how, okay, if you're going to do it like that, then there has to be with a caveat of, especially in basketball, you got to stay, you know, forget about paying them for their freshman year. All right, I've said too much, but I'm going to go off on a nice little rant about that. We're going to let Colin fill us in on the details, some good lawyer speak and so forth coming up right now. Roll clips.
Now, full disclosure, Jeffrey Kessler, who is an antitrust sports attorney, he is not only one of the most prominent lawyers in the country regarding stuff like this in litigation, he is also actively involved in cases against college football. He has taken on the NFL, so he is pro player, and we understand that. The Herd on ESPN Radio, we have questions to ask. We're looking for information. A lot of questions. We're looking for answers. Here we go. Jeffrey Kessler, if a player, let's start with this. If a player gets a money stipend now, he's an employee. Well, I'm an employee. You can fire employees, but they're also students. Does that mean they can or cannot be fired?
Well, he can be fired right now. If that player does not perform on the field or they don't like it, they take away his scholarship and cut him. So I don't see any difference on that issue. That's part of the reason why they deserve to be compensated, because that's how they are treated.
If any collective bargaining, I mean, the NBA has guaranteed salaries, the NFL has fewer guarantees with salaries. For instance, some unions are stronger than other unions. How strong do you think the players' union will be? How will it compare to other sports unions?
It's very hard to say, but right now these players have nothing. They have no representation. I'm quite confident that whatever representation they can secure is going to be a dramatic improvement over nothing.
One of the things they want, Jeffrey, is a guarantee they can transfer at any time. But if they have now a contract, contracts come with limitations. I can't just, I have certain things I can't do as an employee. I can't go to Fox. I can't go to NBC or CBS Sports Tomorrow. How do they get both potentially? They get a new contract and they want to leave anywhere, anytime.
Well, again, that's something that will be negotiated. What the fine, if there are unions formed and if they get an opportunity to bargain, that's what bargaining is about, a series of trade-offs. And again, I'm not representing the union, so I don't know what their agenda is, but a fair deal would be struck for all sides.
Do you see antitrust sports law attorney Jeffrey Kessler? USC's private, so is the University of Miami. Notre Dame and BYU are independent. Pac-12 has one rule. States have different union labor laws. Do you see a complex, difficult process in administering one set of rules for everybody here?
No. What's going to happen is that sooner or later, the NCAA and all the schools and the major conferences are going to realize that this system has to change and there'll be a change in the entire system. That's what I believe will happen. I just think it's a question of accepting the reality. And we're talking just about football and men's basketball. These are sports which generate billions of dollars, where the athletes are treated as in every way as employees, except for the fact that they're not allowed to be paid. And what's going to happen is that the legal system and the economics will be brought into the reality of the businesses that exist. From the standpoint of fans and others, nothing's going to change. But from the standpoint of the daily lives of these athletes, it will be far fairer.
Will the income potentially be taxable?
If they get compensation for doing a job going forward, then yeah, there may be tax implications on that. That would be totally different from the scholarships.
Jeffrey Kessler joining us, attorney, antitrust sports law. Ohio State is profoundly profitable. Iowa State, less profitable. What about schools who argue, Jeffrey, we're barely making the pay now. We are not making a lot of money here.
Every business in the country has some profitable businesses, some unprofitable businesses. The colleges and sports can either share money in their conferences, which some of them already do, through their TV agreements or their cable channels and other things, or they can let each business operate on its own. But that complaint is no different than any other business in this country. And we're talking in these two sports, these are businesses.
Unions tend to support all, but gymnasts, archers, rowers, they're not going to get union support. What about Division II football? Do you think this will escalate and other people will say, we want part of this, we're college athletes too?
In my perspective, at least, other people may have a different perspective. This is about two gigantic businesses. That the sports which are not operated as businesses are really in a completely different category. I don't think anyone believes that that an archery team in Division III is the same as University of Texas football. They're just not in the same category. One might be a sport at a school that primarily is using students, and the other is operating a hundreds of millions of dollar business. They're not comparable.
I've always felt when it comes to unions, if you're doing a majority of your work below the neck, if you're doing something like coal mining, I get unions. But I've been in a couple of unions, media unions, and my problem with media unions, they never inspire the top half, but protect the bottom third, the weakest. So they don't inspire greatness, but protect the worst workers. That part I don't like about unions. Coal miners, there's a lot of guys out there that do stuff that's dangerous. Oh, I get it. But I've got to be honest. I have seen the light. The clouds have parted. When I read Northwestern players get the union vote because the National Labor Relations Act defines them as an employee, at first I thought, man, this is a hornet's nest of issues. But then I read down further into the decision, and it said the push is to unionize athletes only at private schools like Northwestern and USC, because the Federal Labor Agency does not have jurisdiction over public universities. I today officially am all in on all unions. Brothers and sisters, could you send me a union jacket? Steve Sarkisian at USC. He's got a tight end he likes, so does Urban Meyer. Steve Sarkisian gets to pay the tight end. Yep. All I'll be looking forward to my Union jacket with a Union label in the mail. Herd, 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. Your 2020 college football Final Four, Northwestern, Notre Dame, USC, and Vanderbilt. Yeah, pretty interesting. Yeah, this is going to solve everything. Right now, private schools, you get the money. You can go buy players. Hey, that's not an advantage at all. That's not an advantage at all. Please spread the word. Cowherd now pro-union on everything, and specifically college football. Now, women, you're going to tell me that women don't get any payment? They put in the time. They put in the effort. It's not their fault their basketball doesn't have as many fans, so they're not going to get paid? I mean, it's easy to say, well, college football and basketball make the most money, but they don't make equal money. You know, USC basketball doesn't make anything. Kentucky basketball makes a fortune. You know, Duke basketball, Kansas basketball, economic windfalls. You know, San Diego State's good. They're not making any money. Arizona does. Rutgers does not. So there's a lot of inequality when you bring this stuff up. I mean, if I had a daughter that played college basketball, and, you know, what about at UConn or Tennessee, where at times the women's programs are getting gigantic crowds? How are they not compensated? There are female sports in college, like UConn women's basketball, Tennessee women's basketball, you know, that do make some money. So, you know, a lot of questions. A couple of the matchups. UCLA for real. What about Dayton? Do you buy into them? I'm shocked by UConn. The Herd on ESPN Radio.
The scholarship is when, you know, let's look at what the scholarship means. You get a scholarship to go play a sport for your school because you're doing well and you're helping the school. You know, let's face it, help them get into the green, or the black as it were, in terms of a surplus. They're paying for your education, not paying for you to play a sport there. I think this has sort of gotten lost in translation over the years. Yeah, by the way, this is the Quickie Sport Rant of the segment. So, are all these schools going to have to be stuck playing freshmen and then they just up and leave? I don't think, you know, there's a whole... It's even painful to think about it. I'm pinching my brow. If I was doing the show live from the set, you could see it. That the conundrum is, if you're a freshman and all these schools are going to pay X amount of dollars, it's like, well, no. We're giving you a scholarship, paying for your education. The sport thing is secondary. But the paradox is, it's a primary thing that gets them the scholarship. You still have to have your scholastics, right? But how do you balance all that out? It's just like Colin was saying earlier. Many questions left to be asked, let alone ones that are already out there, and obviously some that he brought up, and some that I brought up, and more that are sure to come to be answered. All right, so all the video highlights courtesy to ESPN and The Herd with Colin. Everything else to the OMSR. The OMSR sponsor is the DMCA, Digital Millennium Copyright Act. Covers the fair use, standard, minimal use, and derivatives. That's it. Thanks for watching. Those silly DUIs while you're out there. We are later out of here.